Okay, so today we're going to dive into something really, really heavy. The 2008 murder of this 14-year-old girl, Aarushi Talwar, in India.
Yeah, this one is, it's a tough one.
Yeah.
There's a lot to unpack.
Yeah, it is. And we've got this document called arushikish.pdf, and it's just a ton of info about the case. And it's super interesting, but it's also really sad.
It's tragic for sure.
Yeah.
And I think the thing that really gets you about this case is just how many unanswered questions there are. Even after all this time, we still don't really know for sure who killed Aarushi or why.
Right, like who did it and why.
Exactly, and that's what makes it so fascinating and so frustrating at the same time.
Yeah, so let's just start with the basics, just set the stage here.
Yeah, okay, so it all starts on May 16, 2008. Arushi's parents, Rajesh and Nupur Talwar, they're both dentists, and they find Aarushi dead in her bedroom.
Just a normal morning.
It's just a horrifying discovery.
Yeah, and their domestic helper, Hemraj, he's missing.
Right? So immediately everyone thinks, oh, it must be Hemraj, right?
Right.
He must have done it and run away.
Yeah, like an open and shut case, right?
We're not quite.
Oh, boy.
Because the very next day, they find Hemraj's body.
Oh, no.
Yeah, up on the terrace of the building.
Okay, so now it's 2 murders.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So suddenly it's not so simple anymore. You know, if Hemraj was the killer, then who killed him?
Right, it completely changes the story.
It does.
Yeah.
And it raises a whole bunch of new questions.
So, okay, with Hemraj out of the picture, then how did the suspicion shift to Arushi's own parents?
Well, there were a few things that made the investigators start looking at Rajesh and Nupur Talwar.
Oh, okay, like what?
Well, first of all, there was no sign of forced entry.
Oh, so it's someone they knew.
Exactly, that's what the police were thinking.
Yeah.
Then they found blood stains in the apartment and some alcohol bottles.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because the murder weapon itself was never found. Yeah.
That is interesting.
Right. And then there were phone records and other circumstantial evidence that didn't exactly prove that the parents did it, but it definitely raised some red flags.
Okay, so they had some explaining to do.
Yeah, and all of that combined with the lack of any other suspects led to Rajesh Talwar's arrest.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and this case got so complicated that they actually ended up bringing in the CBI, the Central Bureau of Investigation, to take over.
So it was a huge deal.
Oh, absolutely. This was a massive case in India.
Yeah.
It was all over the news. Everyone was talking about it. And the CBI was brought in because the initial investigation was just struggling to find any solid answers.
So what happened when the CBI took over?
Well, they conducted their own investigation. And in 2013, they actually convicted both Rajesh and Nupur Talwar of the murders.
Whoa, they both went to prison.
Yeah, they were both sentenced to life in prison based on the circumstantial evidence that we talked about, the lack of forced entry, the details of the crime scene, the phone records, all of that.
But I thought you said the evidence wasn't clear-cut.
Right, and that's where things get even more complicated.
Oh, no.
Because in 2017, the Allahabad High Court reviewed the entire case, and they actually acquitted both parents.
Wait, so they were convicted and then set free?
Exactly.
Yeah.
The High Court basically said that there wasn't enough conclusive evidence to prove that Rajesh and Nupur were guilty beyond a reasonable doubt.
Wow, so all that time in prison and then they just let them go.
Yeah, it was a pretty stunning reversal.
So where does that leave us now? Do we have any answers at all?
Unfortunately, no. This is one of those cases where we still don't know for sure who committed the murders or why.
So frustrating.
Yeah, it really is. And I think that's one of the reasons why this case continues to fascinate people. You know, we're all drawn to mysteries, and this one is just full of unanswered questions.
Right. Was it the parents? Was it someone else altogether? We just don't know.
Exactly. And we may never know.
And what about Hemraj? Was his murder connected to Arushi's, or was it something else entirely?
That's another big question that's still up in the air.
This is just so confusing, and I can't imagine what Arushi's parents have been through.
I know, it's absolutely heartbreaking.
Yeah, this whole case just highlights how difficult it can be to get justice sometimes, Even with all the resources and technology we have, there are still some mysteries that we just can't solve.
And beyond the mystery itself, there are some big questions about the investigation and the legal process.
Oh, like what?
Well, were there missteps in the early stages of the investigation that could have led them down the wrong path? Did the media frenzy surrounding the case influence the outcome in any way? These are all important things to consider.
Yeah, it makes you wonder how many other cases are out there where the truth is still hidden.
It's a sobering thought, for sure.
So yeah, we've gone through a lot of information today, and I think it's safe to say that the Aarushi Talwar murder case is one of the most baffling and complex criminal cases in recent history.
Absolutely. And it's one that will likely continue to be debated and discussed for years to come.
Okay, so now we want to hear from you. What do you think about all of this? Did the investigators focus too much on the parents? Were there other avenues that should have been explored more thoroughly? Let us know your thoughts in the comments.
Because this case really highlights the challenges of seeking justice when the truth is so elusive.
So yeah, think about everything we've talked about today and let us know what aspects of the investigation or the legal process stand out to you as the most crucial or maybe even the most flawed.
And what does this case tell us about the difficulties of uncovering the truth in really complex and heavily publicized situations?
Yeah, we want to hear your perspective on all of this.
Because every viewpoint helps us get a little closer to understanding this tragedy.
Thanks for joining us for another deep dive.
And keep those theories coming.